Today, we're looking at the fourth movement of Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. This movement is technically difficult, so a slow, diligent practice is a must. At the same time, we might get overexcited, therefore not being able to play well in a performance due to a stiff right hand. Practice staying relaxed, just as you will do in a performance. Let us begin. The beginning is written mezzo forte, so start with a comfortable, relaxed volume. The second beat of measure 2 is a rest, but the phrase continues to that note in the violas and the celli, so pretend that you're actually playing that note, even if you're not, to make the phrase continuous. For measure 5, it is written forte, but think more of broader bow strokes rather than pressure. The same goes for measure 13 when it is written fortissimo. The passage in measure 41, you should focus more on playing the phrase with legato strokes rather than pressure. That way, you can produce more volume with less power. The quarter notes in measure 43 will feel long if played according to the actual value. There are many interpretations, but when you prepare, I suggest you practice playing the actual value of the notes. The allegro from measure 58 is written half note equals to 120, which is slower than most recordings. I believe it is possible to play the triads non-divisi, but please check with your section leader whether you should divide or not. The dynamics are written very meticulously in this passage, like measure 58 is single forte, measure 62 fortissimo, measure 70 single forte again, and so on. I suggest using relaxed bow strokes in a single forte passage, still relaxed but broader strokes in fortissimo, and relaxed but near the frog in measure 78. That way, your right hand will not get tired. From measure 98, it is written as a 4-bar phrase. Ending the phrase in mezzo forte and beginning the next phrase in piano is difficult, but it will be important to keep the dynamics not getting louder each time. From measure 128, we play the triplets as an accompaniment to the melody in the winds, and we have to be careful not to play fast that it sounds like 2/8. To achieve that, anticipate the first note and play it a little earlier and the second note a little later. First violins have the melody in measure 148, and it is important to play very legato as a contrast to the busy rhythmical accompaniment part. Please also be aware of the meticulous dynamics. As a counter melody to the brass, measures 172 and 173 require short eighth notes, and the scales beginning in measure 174 must be played with the utmost legato. A smooth and constant bow contact is needed in the legato passages, so practice using different bow pressure in different parts of the bow. The half notes from measure 196 may be asked to play detached, but we are still in legato, so careful not to get too detached. From measure 206, simply relax and use the frog of the bow. The quarter notes in measure 210 are the melody, so I would avoid playing them too short. The fortissimo in measure 218 should be played anticipating the three fortes coming up in measure 226. This is a difficult passage, but it is a great place to practice fortissimo and three fortes using the best bow control. The quarter notes in measure 234 are the accompaniment part and also written marcatissimo, so playing very short is okay. This is another passage you would have an easier time playing near the frog. The passage for measure 243 may seem difficult at first, but with a good fingering and slow practice, it is not so hard to overcome. First, practice slowly. When you feel comfortable, increase the speed and play first 4 notes plus the next one. When you feel comfortable with this, increase the length, like 1 bar plus the next note, or 2 bars plus the next note. One important thing is to keep good and consistent contact of your bow so that each note sounds even. The tempo increases in measure 296, so keep your bow strokes short and compact while maintaining legato. The tempo decreases suddenly in measure 312, so it is essential to anticipate the tempo change in your head. For measure 340, it is mostly identical to measure 98, apart from the dotted rhythm in measure 358. This rhythm is played long and sustained, so careful not to play it too short. The tempo increases from measure 436, and it is so strenuous to play the eighth notes starting measure 444 in 3 fortes, but stay near the frog and try not to overwork them. The triplets from measure 452 can be difficult, but try practicing them slowly so you understand how they relate to the beats. Then, increase the tempo when you feel comfortable. The quadruple chords in measure 456 must be played fast, so practice rolling your bow fast from the bottom string to the upper string. For measure 474, you want to stay relaxed because you will have busy, tiring notes couple lines down. So use slow bow and good legato. The triplets in measure 481 especially are easy to use a lot of power without noticing, so staying relaxed is the key. The small notes from measure 489 can be exhausting, so find the ideal place in your bow to produce maximum volume with minimum energy. I would start in the middle of the bow, maybe a little closer to the frog, and a little closer to the bridge. The last presto may be the most difficult passage technically in the whole symphony. Careful the eighth notes do not become imprecise from measure 504. Keep them short, close to the following quarter notes, so maybe almost like 16th notes. From measure 522, you want as few shifts as possible. I use fourth position in the first two bars and first position in the next two bars. Practicing slowly is very helpful, but practicing fast, but one measure at a time, is also a good way to practice. From measure 526, here is another place where it is helpful to practice at a fast tempo, but one measure at a time. Again, try using minimum shifts from measure 526. I use all first position. In the busy passage from measure 537, be careful not to play the quarter note too short. It may be nearly impossible to play the actual value at a fast tempo, but being aware that it should be long will make a difference. The tempo drops in measure 546, and the legato melody returns in the brass. So let us match that by playing the quarter notes not too short. The entire string section plays the arpeggio passage from measure 554. So when you finish playing in measure 557, try to connect the melody line by handing it to the violas and celli, and the other way around in measure 559. I hope you enjoyed my video of the fourth movement of Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. This movement may be the most technically challenging, but it's not impossible with slow practice. Most importantly, you need to play loudly and energetically using minimal force. Let's not rely on power, but find the perfect spot and speed on your bow for the perfect sound. Please leave comments below, and if you have any requests to what pieces you would like me to do in the future, I will try to meet as many requests as I can. That's all for today. Happy music making, and see you again.